What's up, everybody? Let's talk artificial intelligence versus photography versus my photography. I've been shooting photography for 20 years and I wanted to try an example. I wanted to try some of the genres, some of the things I shoot versus the AI. Bing has an image creation utility that you just type in what you want. I want a landscape, I want still life, and it works. It actually creates an image. So I just started typing in things I've created that I'm kind of proud of to see how close it would get and the quality of the image. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how this kind of happens through an AI, how they do it, and they do things very, very well. And then we're going to talk about the state, the history, the historical past of photography and where it's going and what to do in your skill set. If you're that photographer or a content creator, where you're going to need to go, because AI is going to start crushing some jobs. It already has. Information technology already has. It's just going to do, it's going to take out a bunch of areas. In photography, I have a feeling another 5 or 10 years, you're going to see some serious changes where why would you buy a photographer to do something outside of something very unique? Well, let's get into this. So the first image that I just pulled up for giggles, because I don't really do street photography, is I typed in black and white street photography and see what it would generate. And the images that it's generating are fantastic. It's got a guy in a street as one of them, and it looks very realistic. I wouldn't think that this is, I would think it was an awesome photograph. I wouldn't think this was developed by AI. It's very shady, very black and white, typical street photography stuff. Very nice. Now, some of the other stuff I've done is eating utensils. So the next one I typed in, still life fork photography, and it kind of came up with the same image over and over. In fact, I actually got some lighting ideas from this because it does it a little bit differently. But my photographs are kind of on black and white or a black background. I do that to make it stand out. But this stuff is true more still life-ish. It does a very good job. And essentially from there, I typed in marbles, glass balls, because I use some photography of glass balls, marbles, just some abstract things. And it did a very compelling job on that. Mine, I like a little bit better. It's a little more refined, but this gets the job done. It really does look well. So I wanted to change paths or change focus and look at animals. I do some wildlife. So the first thing I put in was duck on water. And this is kind of what I came up with. Now I have a geese shot, but this is a mallard, I think, and it looks really, really good. And then I typed in prairie chicken. Now I do some prairie chicken photography. This gives me a close-up. I could probably ask for something, but the detail on this looks realistic, man. It's got such textures and detail. Why wouldn't it be? And then I typed in my favorite animal, which is kind of the coyote. Like, what does it look like? That's a complicated animal. And it's a bigger animal. And it looks a little painter-ish, but the photo just looks pretty doggone immaculate for being done. You know, I don't think people are going to notice. I don't think people will care. When you generate something like this for 20 seconds, people aren't going to care. And then I concentrated and I asked the AI program, like, since I don't have a coyote drinking water with a reflective shot, I wanted to see if it could do that for me. That's a very complicated shot, and it's very difficult, obviously, if you're a wildlife photographer to get. But here we go, and this is it, and it just looks crazy. You see the reflection of the animal in the water, and yeah, it's very, very well done. So anything from still life to flowers, which pelicans, I have a really nice shot of pelicans I've done. It's kind of created the same lighting, but in color, which I could have told it to do in color. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Maybe if I was really nitpicking, but who cares? Like if you want something for your website or you want something that's instantaneous and easy, oh man, no way. Like why would I pay a photographer for this stuff to do this stuff one-off when I can just type it in and go. So how's it doing this? How is the AI doing this? This is the part that upsets me a little bit. And it's not so much that you're putting the photographers, oh, the poor photographers. No, it's the fact that, and I've always kind of said this data that gets online is free for these huge corporations to data mine. And when you look at Instagram and you look at all these places that are holding images of these great images that have tags called still life photography flowers, still life photography statue, and that when you get thousands of them, you can train an algorithm just to look at it and say, these are high ranked on Instagram or whatever. Just pull that data in and sample 1,000 of them and then come up with a variant of that. And you're not ripping off any one because there's so many. You take a thousandth of a photo from each one, you create an image, and bam, there you go. Morally right? Don't know. But if you know anything about like how some of this AI stuff's built, you need training sets, you need data representation, you need some model to take it off of. And that's, to me, the only way they can have this done, because they're not going to employ photographers to say, maybe, well, we need this. Maybe they have, but it just seems to me that you already have the data there and that's how the algorithms work. That's what you want to do. Sadly, that's in the position we're in. So if you're a photographer, what do you do? Or let's first go to the history. Photography has been a downhill slide for so long. You know, ever since the black and white, and you had film, and you had color, and you have agencies, stock agencies that would sell, you know, images to companies, and they would print it and put it in their magazine. It's been like $400 or $1,000 to run it in some big magazine. It was expensive and it was slow. And then you had these micro stock companies that started with the digital that, you know, instead of 400, they're like 60 bucks or 30 bucks. And then they had to, the digital cameras brought the price down even more. And then, you know, the landscape guys, well, you know, some money's better than nothing. I'm not making 400 now, I'm making 60. But then that got so cheap, and there's so many people doing it that they have all these images just sitting there, and they're like, well, what are you gonna do now? I've had friends that they have landscapes that they don't even bother uploading to the microstock companies because they get like 30 cents for it. It's not worth their time to do that. They're like just better off doing something else. So that being said, where would you go and what would you do? This is on the downhill slide. I think in the future, just like everything else, you have to kind of move up the level of abstraction for an industry that has changed. Meaning, as developers, software engineers, we used to know low-level languages, and then we got to second-gen, third-gen language, and you just kept moving up the abstraction layer to do more and more for less time. You know, it used to be really complex code that would do things, and now you can do it in 1/10 of the time. It's the same way with content generation. I think photographers are stuck in a hard place. If you're going to do this, you need to kind of rebrand yourself, not as a photographer, but as a content generator. Like someone comes to you and you say, what do you need? I can get you video, I can get you AI photos, I can do it on your own. You can do a multiplicity of things, and they say, you know, I need a coyote that's got something and a cross and a beer or whatever. And that's when you start dialing it up with AI technology, and then you bring it into Photoshop and you start customizing it to create an image in Photoshop, AI, and whatever that might be, video or whatever. So that's kind of, you're a solution for companies for a vision of what they're trying to create. Now, if you're stuck in the photography, meaning you're a landscape photographer, you're going to be in a tougher position. I kind of tend to agree with Thomas Heaton, who's on YouTube. He says, if you're in this industry and you're a photographer and you want to stay that way, you have to get in front of the camera like this. You have to be on YouTube. You need a presence, and you need to shout out to people to show them you're human. And they have to fall in love with your content, with your style, your belief, the stories you tell in the videos and the images you create to sell them images. If not, if you just expect to sell your image online next to 1,000 other landscape images, you're done. There's just the probability of it is so low unless you have a following. And so that's where we're at, guys. Yeah, it's a tough predicament to where things are going in that, but AI, it can be brutal. So you got comments, questions below, right? I'll try to reply. But as you can see, we're going to have more of these videos of it working over people's career and changing that, because I've been a software engineer forever and I've seen a lot of change. You see accounting departments go away, underwriting departments go away, financial advisors go away, everything through some form of artificial intelligence or some siloed version of that. So you've got, again, you want to hit that subscribe button, ask some questions. Hopefully I'll see you next week.